Hello learners, today we will be discussing week 11 part 3, which is judgment and action in moral education. This is your week 11 of BEDS 001 overview and perspectives of values. So when we talk about judgment, what do you mean by judgment? Judgment is judging a person on the basis of his or her actions or the way he behaves or she behaves. So we are going to talk in detail what judgment and action, what they mean in moral education. The relationships between judgment and action, especially in the moral context, have interesting implications for the areas of moral education and moral development. The issue of moral judgments and actions in fact lies at the heart of moral development. Mere outward behavior cannot be taken as moral or not moral. For example, you see me on the road and you see me getting angry at someone. This outward behavior of mine is not to be judged as me being not moral, because I may have been angry at the other person because the other person has provoked me or has said something to me to make me angry. So when we talk about outward behavior, just looking at the person, outward behavior cannot be taken as something which is moral or not moral. One would certainly agree that although having certain reasons of some kind is a necessary part of being a moral agent, this cannot be a sufficient condition to be a moral agent. To be designated as moral agent, one must act in accordance to these reasons and intentions. So, when we talk about being a moral agent, there are certain reasons of some kind which is necessary for you or for me to become a moral agent, and there are certain conditions, intentions and reasons for you or me to be a moral agent. Morality is by nature a practical business, as it is basically concerned with what ought to be done or what is the right thing to do, what is right to do. So when we talk about morality, morality is something which you know that if you do this, let's say for example, if you are honest, if you are punctual in your work, if you are honest with your work, if you do not cheat, these are certain values, these are moral values, these are values which ought to be done, and these are the right thing to do. That is not cheating, being honest, being punctual. So morality cannot be accounted for just in terms of either performing particular kinds of actions or in terms of making particular kinds of judgments. It must involve both of these, that is, how a person thinks, feels and behaves. So when we talk about morality, it is just not the outward behavior, but it involves how a person thinks, how a person feels and how a person behaves. So it is a culmination of these aspects in a person's life, that is how he or she thinks, how he or she feels or how he or she behaves. Many approaches to moral education and moral development, however, ignore this complex balance between judgment and action. For example, Piaget, Kohlberg and his associates tried to study moral development mainly in terms of children's moral judgment. When we talk about Piaget, Piaget talks about the moral reasoning in children, and he is very interested in talking about these stages in children's moral reason. That is, number one, what do children think about rules? That is, what are the rules that one has to adhere to? Why are these rules important? Why should there be rules? What happens if rules are broken? Who are the ones who make the rules? So Piaget is interested in this aspect of moral reasoning in children. That is, number one, what are rules? Who makes the rules? What will happen if rules are broken? Then another aspect is, what do children think about moral reasoning? What do they think about the morality? That is, if someone does not behave, what would lead to a bad behavior? So this is the second aspect of Piaget. Then you have another aspect of Piaget. When he talks about moral reasoning, he is very interested in what children think about moral reasoning. The first one was when I said he is interested in thinking what children think about rules, that is, what are rules, where do they come from. Then Piaget is also very much interested in children understanding of moral reasoning, the moral aspect, moral judgment, that is, what are the behavior which are said to be bad, what would bad behavior lead to. Then also another aspect of Piaget interest in moral reasoning is children understanding of moral judgment. In this particular aspect, Piaget tries to understand what children think about punishment. Does punishment fit the crime? And if the punishment which is given to a particular person who has committed a crime, is that particular punishment justifying the crime, and so on and so forth. So this is a Piaget concern about moral reasoning in children. Then we have Kohlberg. Kohlberg also is very much interested in moral reasoning in terms of children's moral judgment. He talks about 6 stages, and these stages are divided into 3 levels. First of all, when he talks about level 1, he is talking about what is pre-conventional. Pre-conventional consists of part 1 and 2. We have the first is obedience and how to avoid punishment. So like I said, Kohlberg is very interested in children's moral judgment, and he says there are 6 stages. There are 6 stages in moral development, and as you progresses, these stages of moral development also progresses. As human development progresses, as human development moves forward in terms of your physical development, your intellectual development, moral development also moves from one stage to the other. And these 6 stages can be divided into 3 levels. The first level is pre-conventional, which talks about obedience and why you adhere to obedience, because you fear punishment. So when children are young, they tend to obey, they mostly obey their parents because they fear that if they do not obey their parents, they would be punished. Then you have in level 1, which is conventional, another stage which is self-interest. Self-interest orientation, which is what is there for me. If I obey certain rules, what will I gain from the rules? Will I get certain incentives from my parents? Will I get certain incentive from my teachers, and so on and so forth? So this is level 1, which is pre-conventional. It consists of 2 stages: obedience as well as self-interest orientation. Then we have what is called level 2, which is conventional. This also consists of 2 stages. And what are these stages? They are interpersonal conformity. That is, you conform because you believe in the rules. You conform, you adhere to the rules and regulations because you have certain interest in adhering to the rule. You have certain values because of which you adhere to the rules. And another stage in this level 2, which is conventional, is your authority and social order, that is, you confirm, you obey authority, that is, you obey your teachers, you obey the principal of the school, because by obeying the authority there is social order, there is peace, there is harmony all around you. Then we have another level, which is level 3, which is post conventional, and this consists of another 2 stages, which are social contract orientation and universal ethical principles. So when we talk about these 2 stages, we are talking about why you should obey certain rules and regulations. There are certain ethical principles, universal principles to which you have to adhere to. You have to obey and follow these rules and principles because these are universally accepted. Like for example, you should be honest, you should not cheat, then you should respect your elders, and so on and so forth. You should not commit a theft, you should not steal. All these are ethical universal principles which everyone in the society should and must adhere to, because these are universal ethical principles. Then you have what is called social contract orientation, that is, there are certain rules and regulations which you adhere to, and you adhere to certain rules and regulation because the others also adhere to these certain rules and regulations. So these are the stages of Kohlberg's moral reasoning or moral judgment, which are the conventional, that is level 1, the pre-conventional level 1, then you have the conventional level 2, and the level 3, which is post-conventional. All these combined consist of 6 stages which I had talked about. Though Piaget and Kohlberg do not completely ignore moral action, their main thrust was directed towards moral judgment. On the other hand, the traditional notion of moral training aimed at inculcating in children a particular code of moral conduct, telling the truth, respecting one's elders, keeping one's promises, etc. So they do not completely ignore moral action, but their focus was directed towards moral judgment. That is the traditional notion of moral training, that is, you have traditional moral code of conduct where you tell children to tell the truth, to respect elders, you have telling them to keep your promises, and so on. But such notions need not be replaced by furthering children's understanding of moral issues. In contrast to judgmental approaches, the opposing traditions seem to overemphasize behavior at the expense of judgment and understanding. For example, behavior modification techniques of Skinner had no place for concepts like intention or judgment, belief, choice, responsibility, and justice. A child behaves morally not because he understands that his behavior is right, but because his behavior is so shaped through appropriate arrangement of rewards and punishments. We can see that this behavior approach to morality is not moral education but moral training. According to it, it is the standard of behavior in and out of school which is a measure of success or failure of moral teaching. So, a child conducts himself, herself in a certain way, not understanding not understanding morally that his behavior is right, but because there has been so much of moral training in the school, at home, that his behavior has been shaped in such a way that he knows that if he does not behave in a certain way, he will be punished. There will be certain rewards if he behaves correctly. So there is a lot of training, moral teaching which goes behind a child's appropriate behavior, because there is a lot of moral training which goes in a child's behavior. What do we mean by moral weakness? In dealing with moral education, we encounter a specific practical problem, that is the problem of moral weakness. For example, a child may learn certain skills which satisfy certain judgmental criteria, but may fail to act in accordance with what he has judged to be right. For example, I know that drinking alcohol is bad, or because alcohol would lead to a problem in my system, my health, but then I am not able to control this weakness. Or at times I know that what I'm saying is wrong, but to impress the other person, I try to impress the person by talking about things which I may not have done, by blowing things out of proportion, exaggerating things. So I am not able to control this weakness. So this is what we call by moral weakness. This educational problem of moral weakness is concerned with how to encourage children to act upon their moral judgment. Let us try to analyze the solution of such a problem. When we fail to act upon what we think to be right or good, we are guilty of moral weakness. It usually happens when we are overcome by overpowering emotion, desires, or other irrational factors. We are not able to withstand such pressures either because our will or our conscience is too weak. So this is very important for us to know that we should overcome our moral weakness, because if we don't overcome our moral weakness, then this moral weakness would lead to us becoming a person who is not adhering to rules of the society. The person may become a social outcast, a person who is a criminal. So it is very important that this particular moral weakness is controlled. I have given you an example of how, instead of saying honestly things to the point or being truthful, you speak about things which you have not done, you blow things out of proportion, you try to exaggerate your achievement, and so on and so forth. That is, you are not honest. So you should be able to overpower this particular moral weakness. Moral education in such cases will imply strengthening the will or conscience to educate emotion and thus build a strong character. Some thinkers reject concepts like weak will or conscience. So when we talk about moral education is very important. Moral education is important because moral education helps you to strengthen the will or the conscience to overpower these moral weakness and thus help you to build a strong character. According to certain thinkers, moral weakness is not a battle between our will and our emotions, but rather a conflict or incompatibility between two kinds of reasons for actions. Let me repeat, according to some thinkers, moral weakness is not a battle between our will and our emotions, but rather a conflict or incompatibility between two kinds of reasons for actions. Reasons can be justified as well as motivate a person for action. So, some thinkers believe that a moral weakness is not a weakness of the will, a weakness of our emotions, or a weakness of a conscience, but rather it is a conflict or incompatibility between two kinds of reasons for actions, and these reasons could be justified to motivate a person for actions. What are these reasons? These reasons could be reasons to motivate a person. For example, you are motivated, or there are certain reasons behind you exaggerating your achievement. exaggerating things which you have not done because you want to impress the interview board who are in front of you. There are certain reasons behind certain actions. There might be certain defense mechanism. You feel that if the person who is standing in front of you does not respect you enough, so the reason for you not adhering to your moral action or not adhering to the truth is because you feel that if you say something or behave or do certain action, you would gain the respect of the person who is sitting in front of you, besides you, or and you would be able to gain the respect of others. So there are thinkers who feel that moral weakness is not a battle between our will or our emotion, but rather it is an incompatibility between two kinds of reasons for actions, and there are certain reasons which justify as well as motivate a person for action. So in today's class we have talked about the concept of what is called moral judgment. We have talked about judgment and action in moral education. We have talked about how judgment or action is a very important part of your moral education, because moral education helps you to make proper judgment. Moral education helps you to take proper action, good behavior, develop good behavior, also act appropriately towards others. So with this particular lecture I have completed week 11 which was on reason and emotions in human conduct, which was the last part which I have discussed in today's lecture. Thank you so much.